when you're not traveling, you always think there's like only one way to live your life.
Welcome to El Cafecito Travel Talks with Tony Lloyd. Each episode, Tony sits down with travelers, expats, creatives, and community voices from across Latin America and beyond, sharing stories of travel, culture, connection, and the journeys that shape us. So grab a cafecito or a tea and enjoy the conversation.
Hi, so my name is Fabian. I'm 24 years old. I'm from Austria. 6 months ago, I quit my corporate job, booked a one-way ticket to South America, and then since then, I'm trying to explore the continent as much as possible and as well as long as possible.
Okay, so first of all, what were you doing? You said you were doing a corporate job. What were you doing before?
Yes, so I was working as a sports event manager. Okay. So I was organizing a lot of sport events all around Europe. So I was working in an agency and we had like a lot of clients, and for the clients we were organizing.
Okay.
Yeah.
While we're having this conversation, we're in the heights of the World Cup. How do you relate travel with sports? Like, what are some of the things you've seen along the way while you've been traveling?
Yeah, I think that's actually super interesting, and I'm actually super happy that during the World Cup I got to be in Ecuador. Because I think Ecuador has such a vibrant, has a lot of vibrant emotions in a way, especially if they play in the World Cup. Like the whole street is out, you see like the city is alive. So for the group stage, I was in the Galapagos Islands now for a month, and I saw all three of them. It's crazy. I think because I'm from Austria, and in Austria, like right now, we are at the peak, I think, of our World Cup history in a way. But to be in a country where like the culture is all about football in a way, I think it's super interesting to experience it. If there's a chance to experience like big events in other countries, I think it's super interesting because every country has a different connection with each sport, and to see that is really fascinating.
Just give sort of a feeling of what it's like to be sitting there with a whole group of people in the country playing the game. What was it like for you? You know, you mentioned that you saw all three games, but just what was that feeling?
I mean, in the beginning, it's always a bit weird because then you go into a stadium or like in a little public viewing area, and obviously I'm like one of the only people like not from the country. But then actually the longer I'm staying, I think it's really nice because then obviously people start recognizing you're not from the country, but then you're wearing the same t-shirt or the t-shirt from the country. And then you go like cheering together, and people really be like, oh man, that's really nice. Even though you're not from our country, you're still supporting us and like cheer our team on. So I think it's the companionship in a way of just being together and like celebrating one moment at a time together.
Mm-hmm. What is something that you've seen that's different than the way you would celebrate a sport back in Austria versus the fans here?
I think I actually wouldn't put it on the goals, to be fair, because I think obviously when a goal is falling, everyone is cheering and everyone is celebrating. Mm-hmm. I think it's actually much more when there's like a close shootout or if there's a goal, because like in all these moments you actually would guess, okay, just the goal was fallen. If you would be like 100 meters away from the stadium or from the public viewing, you would think, oh wow. Another goal. But in reality, it was just maybe like a missed corner or like a missed shot or anything. So the emotions are much higher in general all over the game. I even wouldn't put it on the goals itself, but much rather on the whole of the game.
Okay. Which countries have you been to so far in your plans?
So I started in Chile, and then I went to Argentina, Brazil, then all the way up to French Guiana, Suriname, Guyana, Peru, and now here in Ecuador.
And will you be going to Colombia next?
No, not Colombia. Like officially, actually, I was in Colombia because I was taking the boat through the Amazon River for 21 days, and it was going from Brazil, Colombia, Peru, all the way to Ecuador. But my next plan is going to Peru and then probably like Bolivia. But yeah, time will tell.
Sports. Have you seen like an unusual sport that you have not seen before while you've been traveling?
I wouldn't say a different kind of different sport. I would rather say a different kind of style of play of sports. So I don't know if it's just a thing in the Galapagos Islands or maybe in whole of Ecuador. I was pretty lucky to experience it was like the volleyball championships in a way, but on the Galapagos Islands. So just to break it down real quick, you have like big 3 islands in the Galapagos Islands, and basically every island had their own championships, and then there was like a finale in one of these islands where like all of the best teams came together for the championship. So I just happened to be there on the final day, and they played volleyball like on the streets, and it was such a different kind of volleyball as you would imagine. I don't know, let's say back in Europe. I would kind of describe it as street volleyball. It's really like, for example, if you want to defend or you get the ball from the other side of the team. Normally in Europe, if you want to defend a ball, you go like with both hands and like push it up. At least in this tournament, it was like just with like one hand and just like passing it around and like a bit of like tricky and like stylish shootout. So I don't know. I think that was the most surprising in a way. I really enjoyed it because it kind of shows that every sport can be kind of the same, but every country can put their own element to it in a way.
Own twist on it.
Yeah.
So what you're describing is actually called Ecuavolley. And so yes, definitely it's not your typical volleyball like you would see elsewhere. Usually 3 players. The net is actually much higher than the regular volleyball net. Most people who have been to Ecuador have recognized that the average height of the Ecuadorian is actually shorter than the average height of the European. So to have this net, which is really much higher than the normal height, makes it even more of a challenge.
Yeah.
And as you said, they'll use one hand, they'll sort of like almost throw it over the net.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is called Ecuavolley.
Ah.
Any like maybe board games or card games? Did you learn any card games along the way?
Ooh. There's one game which I really started to love, and I think that's my go-to when I'm arriving in a new hostel or when I'm on a long bus ride or anything. It's called President.
Okay.
Do you know the game?
Yes.
Okay. Just to quickly break it down. Basically, best played by 4 people. You have to put the cards in alphabetical order. So like from 3 all the way up to the number of 2. First, when you get rid of all your cards, become president, and then you become the best 2 cards from the loser of this round. The purpose is to become president and reign president as long as possible. I think it's a quite nice game.
You know, games like that, and even games like Yahtzee and different sort of Uno cards like that, are usually the great bond-in for people when they end up in a hostel. And you're there with other people. Sometimes the language is an issue, but usually playing a game like that is usually a great bond-in experience.
Maybe to find a connection with the games we were just talking about. I also find it always interesting that, let's say, if I'm suggesting, hey, let's play a round of President, everyone who played this game has sometimes different rules, the same as like Uno. I think that's in a way super interesting because I think now if I would play with someone, Mr. President, it would become like a really specified, modified version from all the people I've met around my travels. Because everyone has like one specific rule or like one rule which is not common in a way, but what I kind of like to kind of spice up the game in a way. It's quite interesting because I think the game of President like 5 months ago, which I played, is now probably so much different than like back then.
Than what it is now.
Yeah.
Could you remember an occasion where maybe a friendship sparked out of playing a game, and then explain to us a little bit about how that evolved?
My kind of favorite memory from playing cards was actually on the cargo boat in the Amazon River. So I was going from Brazil to the border of Colombia, Peru, Brazil. And we were there like for 8 days on the boat, and like every day was kind of the same life. But it just happened to be that on the same boat, there were like 2 other French people, Antoine and Jenapa. Yeah, and a German girl and a girl from Argentina. And it was quite funny because during the day, everyone kind of did their own thing. Because like in the morning you eat breakfast, and you probably like want to read a book, watch out for some time. But then what I really loved, at the end of the day, around like 5 p.m. after dinner, we all met up at the top of the boat. We played for like 4 or 5 hours. it was really just nice to have kind of a ritual every day, and especially if you're on a boat kind of trapped in a way, it's really nice to form friendships with like travelers all around the world. With Antoine, actually I'm still in contact with him, and it's just kind of nice. And I think that also one of my favorite things that happen is to kind of meet travelers you met once on your travels somewhere in the middle of nowhere, like a couple of months later. And I know for a matter of fact, it's going to happen again with Antoine, for sure.
No, that is really cool when that happens. Are you doing any sports yourself as you travel, or how do you stay fit?
In Brazil, actually, I thought to myself, every time I'm like 2 days in a hostel and then next place and then seeing some places, I find it quite hard to build up a routine. Mm-hmm. So for the first time when I was volunteering in a hostel and like settling at least for some time, I actually signed up for a gym. And then like every second day I went up with the other volunteers from the hostel to the gym. Kind of routine. I kind of managed to do it for like 2 months.
Okay. And how much longer do you have to go on your travel?
I would say right on the spot. It really depends. At least for me, this trip is actually the first time where I don't have like any return date. I don't have anything where I have to come back to Europe time-wise. So it's really like mainly based on money or also out of, I guess, my mental health in a way. I only want to do it as long as I really enjoy it. Okay. I don't want to travel just out of saying, hey, I was like traveling for 8 months and so I can say a big number. It's really just out of enjoyment. And I think that's also what I really like about South America is since I'm traveling for 5 months now, I always could kind of change the environment as soon as it got a bit tired or like maybe drained or like kind of, and I think as long as I can change my environment and as long as it excites me in a way, I think that's how long I want to pursue my travels.
Okay. Have you ever thought of maybe settling somewhere and saying, okay, is it travel and then you'll return back to Austria?
No, 100%. I thought about it many times. And I think especially the first time it brought up in my mind was with volunteering, because it's like the first time you're like staying a longer time in a place, because I would also describe myself as a very fast-paced traveler. Mm-hmm. So to be really like in one place for a certain longer time, it's kind of nice because then all of a sudden, the supermarket, the restaurants to go, some people you see once in a while on the street. I definitely think about it once in a while. And like so far, I could really see myself in South America, at least in Chile, I think. Because I think also climate-wise, it's quite similar to Austria. Because you have like summer and winter, you have like a lot of mountains. And also my Spanish is really not great, not at all. Mm-hmm. And so far, I could understand the Chilean people the best way.
For real?
Yeah, 100%.
Usually, most people say that the Chilean accent is the hardest one to understand.
Really?
Yes. And even Spanish speakers, like people who are from Ecuador or from Colombia, they're like, the Chileans are I kid you not, if you investigate it on the internet, it's considered the hardest Spanish to understand.
Because actually what I heard was that kind of everyone is a bit shitting on the Chilean accent because it's like apparently not the most nicest and not the most beautiful ones. I guess what's kind of helping me is they speak kind of slower Spanish. Mm-hmm. So for example, if you were in Spain, also in Peru, I felt in a way, they speak very fast. And then with my, let's say 20% Spanish knowledge, I think I slowly, I fast get to my end of my Spanish knowledge. So
okay, that's a very interesting perspective on that, because usually we have around January, February is a season where we get a lot of people from Chile, and even in the past with my Ecuadorian staff, they were like, I can't understand what they're saying.
Really?
Yeah, and they use it. The Chileans use a lot of words like slang in their way of speaking. So that's interesting to hear that.
Yeah.
And again, I think what often happens with accents in any language, when you're learning the language, it all depends on where you start to learn it. Yeah. And so sometimes that then makes it sound like it's easier. So I don't necessarily think it's easier or harder. I think what happens is if that's where you learned a good chunk of your knowledge of the language, that's going to be your reference point.
100%. Because basically I started in Chile. It was being literally thrown into the water. So it's quite funny because like on my travels, everyone who speaks Spanish or Portuguese kind of like bands with me with my Spanish knowledge, because basically my Spanish is putting French, Italian, a bit of German, English. So I put every language together and then I try to make a conversation out of it. And the funny thing is, literally every time it works out, everyone kind of understands me. But at the same time, everyone is like, what are you talking about? Like grammatically, it just doesn't make any sense. So if you want, I can give you one example. So
definitely.
In the first month, so we went to Patagonia. So first thing, obviously, as an Austrian, you ask for beer. And I didn't know the word for beer. So I went out to the supermarket, and basically my first phrase was like, hola amigo, una cuestione, ¿es posible un biros, por favor? Now I know biros is not a word, but I thought like, okay, beer, maybe South Americans put an OS at the end. Now I know it's cerveza. But yeah, I think that's my kind of Spanish. And I think it's funny but that's also what everyone is saying me at the end. I mean, 100% grammatically doesn't make anything sense, but at least you're trying it.
Exactly.
Because I think that's sometimes a bit of my struggle here, because I'm really interested in other cultures, other people and their stories, but obviously there's a bit of like a language barrier. But that's what I kind of felt here in South America. People really appreciate that I'm trying. And even though it doesn't make sense all the time, 100%. But still there's kind of a way to communicate, because there's more than like verbal language, but also like body language in a way.
I totally agree. And I say that to people all the time. Don't let language be your stopping point. Let it go. And people they'll meet you. They'll meet you along the way. And that's a great way of learning and doing it that way too.
I think now with South America, I think I kind of really saw myself also people living different than in Europe. I think, for example, in Europe, people are living, or like, at least that's how I did it. Like, I was living my life much more with like my head and like logical thinking, probably also because I'm Austrian or like German in a way. This is what I really try to embrace here as well, to go much more with like feelings and emotions, especially in South America. And it's also a way of living. As my next step, let's see if that works out. I want to do like a work and tour visa in Australia and New Zealand. So, and I really can't wait to go there as well and kind of see how these people are living. Because I think when you're not traveling, you always think there's like only one way to live your life. Kind of see myself now for the next couple of years. I want to see like a lot of as much cultures or like as much countries as possible and experience as much different ways of living. To then kind of decide if I'm like, yeah, maybe at the end of the day, I actually decide to go back to Austria and say, hey, actually, this is the best way or the best version of myself in a way. But yeah, I think that's what for me traveling is all about at the moment. Trying to see as much as possible and experiencing as much as possible.
Okay. Well, good luck in your discovery and your adventure and your journey, and wish you all the best.
Thank you. Thank you for the talk.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of El Cafecito Travel Talks with Tony Lloyd. If you'd like to learn more about today's guest, check the podcast notes for links and information related to this episode. And if you have questions, stories, or topics you'd love us to explore in future episodes, feel free to reach out. Tony also helps independent travelers plan meaningful journeys throughout Central and South America, including cultural and community-based experiences. And if you'd like to support the podcast and help keep these conversations going, you'll find a contribution link in the podcast notes. Until next time, thank you for sharing a cafecito or tea with us, and safe travels wherever your journey may take you.